Lafayette Police Department had accomplished, and it's under the leadership of Chief Aguilar and Deputy Chief Thomas.
And what kind of progress have you guys seen?
Well, community relations, they have definitely begun to build a bridge where it relates to trust, law enforcement and trust in the African American community. They initiated police community relations committee, which I think started before Aguilar, but Deputy Chief Thomas was a big part of that. They've solved all the crimes that they inherited, plus the ones that happened since they've taken office. What else? Community activities. We never saw law enforcement in our community just to meet with us and say, hey, how's it going? What are your concerns? Anything like that. So that was a major part of building the trust between the African American community and law enforcement, Lafayette Police Department in particular.
And why do you think that's so important to have that trust and to have that relationship?
Well, in cities across the country, there are strained relationships between law enforcement and the African American community. In the state of Louisiana, African Americans are incarcerated. They have the highest rate of incarceration, which starts with an arrest with law enforcement. So building that bridge of trust, some people may call law enforcement because their kid maybe a high school student might have marijuana, and the parent may call law enforcement to talk to that kid, and that kid wind up getting arrested. You know what I'm saying? And they have the discretion. So when people trust, they'll work with you, they'll help you solve crimes, and that's important.
And do you think that's been a good relationship with the previous chief of police?
Absolutely. Prior to that, back in, I want to say 2015, the NAACP held a press conference and delivered to the media, I want to say maybe a 20-page list of complaints and grievances with the Lafayette Police Department that we had shared with the media. And part of that was discriminatory hiring practices. When Chief Aguilar and Deputy Chief Thomas began to work together, the minority, we believe that the law enforcement should represent the population that it serves. Well, in the city of Lafayette, we're 31, maybe 33% African Americans, yet it was only 11% of African American law enforcement. We're happy today that it's 24, and we were looking forward to it getting to, closer to the 30% margin.
So your organization, what are y'all's thoughts on the changes so far for the police department?
Well, we're disappointed that Chief Aguilar was asked to resign. We appreciate, all that he's done, and we wish him well in all of his future endeavors. We are disappointed that our Mayor-President Guillory chose a lieutenant who is 3 ranks under a deputy chief to be the interim chief. I was trying to do a parallel. What is that equivalent to? If something happened to Trump, then Pence wouldn't be he wouldn't arise to the president, and I don't know who's under him, but in the case, like, I'm the president of the NAACP here. If something happens to me, my vice president, the deputy chief is second in command. So in the absence of the chief, the deputy chief would, he was, and not only that, he has interim chief experience because he was interim chief for 11 months prior to the arrival of Chief Aguilar.
So you guys are disappointed that he's not filling that role as fill-in for right now.
We're disappointed that Mayor Guillory speaks about transparency. I don't know how anyone in the city of Lafayette could justify a lieutenant skipping 3 ranks to be an interim chief. I don't, there'd be some interesting words, some interesting dialogue. When Deputy Chief Reginald wanted to apply for the chief of police position, he wasn't allowed to apply because he wasn't qualified educationally. He needed a degree. Not to mention that he had worked in every single department, not to mention that he is FBI trained, not to mention that he had been on the force for 26 years. None of that was good enough. He needed to get that degree. So if you're gonna be fair, then what's the problem now? And I'm sure, Josh Guillory is a mayor-president. I want to always respect him. Mayor-President Guillory is a citizen of Lafayette. He's aware of all of that, So it appears discriminatory practices have begun with a Caucasian lieutenant rising to interim chief, and you have a deputy chief already in place, whether he's African American, green, blue, whatever the case may be. He's deputy chief, he's worked hard, he has 29 years experience, and I don't know what kind of person our interim chief Scott Morgan will be. I don't know Scott Morgan, but in passing. And hopefully he'll do a good job, but even he might question, might be some back closed door meetings, I don't know. But I don't know anybody who could justify it. Comments on Facebook reflects that.
You had mentioned that Reginald, he's filled in
Yes.
before.
For 11 months, that's right. He was interim chief.
During what period of time do you remember?
If my memory serves me correct, from January 2016 to November 2016.
So he was able to fill in interim no matter whether he had the education or not.
Correct.
Okay.
He was a captain at the time. Now here we're still talking about a lieutenant, who has just. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. And not only that, it will be interesting to see. I know that the Police Community Relations Committee meetings that we normally have monthly, those are on hold until further notice. So it would be interesting to see how that plays out, and will the new chief, or will the interim chief allow for those to continue, allow for the community walks to continue, where officers go into the community and actually meet the community, shake their hands. I have some video footage of a couple of officers playing street basketball with some kids on that walk, friendly, and that's what it should be.
Do you think having Deputy Chief Reginald move into that interim position would have kind of helped bridge the gap a little bit more?
I think it would have continued building that bridge between the African American community and Lafayette Police Department. At one time, there was no trust at all, 0. That's why we had the press conference back, I want to say in 15. That was prior to Reginald, that was prior to Chief Kraft. It was during Chief Kraft's administration when we brought those things to light.
So why do you think that Reginald would be the best fit for interim during this time period?
First of all, he's had successful experience. He's experienced in being interim chief. He was interim chief successfully for 11 months prior to Chief Aguilar joining the force. He has 29 years experience. He's worked in every single capacity of Lafayette Police Department. Maybe not one of the operators, reception is one of those. But as far as the police department is concerned, he's worked in every single department. I'm still trying to wrap my head around a lieutenant who is skips over 3 levels, because you have, I believe, lieutenant, captain, major, and then deputy chief. So he's actually lieutenant. He's lieutenant. So you have captain, major, deputy chief, and that's still. What do they do that at? Where does that happen? Lafayette, Louisiana.
Have you guys reached out to the mayor to see if he would kind of alliterate more or go into detail?
We have not. During his campaign, he spoke about working with the African American community. The NAACP and various community organizations are iconic in the community for working with the community, boots on the ground, hand in hand with the community to have a better community, to work towards a better community. I would think that his team has gone to talk to so many people. I'm not sure why we weren't included. He did, not him, but someone on his team had a meeting with a group of people, leaders of the community, and many African American organizations were not included. So I'm not really sure.
And what were y'all's hopes then for having the press conference over the weekend?
Our hopes were to express to the city of Lafayette the accomplishments that have been made, the bridges that have been built, and how we feel if Chief Aguilar and Deputy Chief Thomas is no longer a part of that building process, that we could go backwards. And that's something that we do not want to do. We want to continue moving forward. We want to continue moving forward with community policing. We want to continue to have a voice in our policing. That's basically why. We're not saying that, we did not know, let me say this, who was gonna be appointed. We just wanted the same progress. We want the progress to continue, not be halted, not be reversed, not move backwards.
Great. Is there anything else you think it's important to note about these changes or about what your hopes are for the future?
Mayor-President continues to say that he wants the best person for the job. And it scares me that it's going to be a nationwide search for a chief of police. I would think the best person for the job is someone who has a great relationship with the entire community of Lafayette, not just the African American community, but with the Hispanic community, with the Caucasian community. I would think a person like that would be, a good fit. Of course, we believe Chief Aguilar was a good fit, and for our Mayor-President to ask him to resign, and you could do this, Cassie. You can look at Chief Aguilar's resume and put it alongside this lieutenant's resume. So if you're looking, if you're comparing apples to apples, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I don't understand, and we're going to continue to monitor it, and if need be, we're going to take it to the Mayor-President.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.